So they call it the mad virus, and this virus has spread throughout the world with the speed of jet planes. The infected are highly aggressive, they are fast, and they are strong. In a couple of weeks, society collapsed, cities are empty, there is no electricity, no water, and no food. Yet, there are a few survivors. And that is a little paragraph about Infection-Free Zone, a new game about the survival of a zombie apocalypse, essentially, that has just released on Steam. And this game has a lot to it that is awesome. So we're going to jump in, and before you even get into the game, there's quite a lot of settings and stuff that you can change to alter your experience. One of the best things in this game is the fact that you can play in almost any city in the world. So what I did is I chose the city that I grew up in, and there are warnings in the game. They tell you it's either going to be quite tough, or some areas are unfortunately unplayable if there's not enough buildings and stuff. But what the game will also do is suggest a city for you to play in if you want a recommendation. But not only that, once you have selected your city, you can then change the horde amount, so the amount of zombies and stuff that are going to come out. And you can also change the amount of people and resources to make it as easy or challenging as you want. And the hordes are not just zombies in this game. There are also dogs and stuff that are infected, and there's a lot of other stuff that you'll experience as you get further into the game. I have played around 2, maybe 2.5 hours of this game. I've had an absolute blast with it, and I feel as though I've experienced quite a lot. I've run one city into the ground entirely. But what happens is, once you've selected all your settings and stuff, you've changed all of your quality and everything to get the game to run how you want it, you are then going to be put in a cutscene that explains how the virus started, and then the game begins. And as you progress through the start of this game, the hordes are very, very light. It's easy at the start. And what's going to happen is you are going to be tasked with starting new squads to go out and scavenge buildings and just set up your base. You don't have a lot, and there are, like, all the different buildings that are available are different sizes. You get very, very small ones which can't be adapted. Then they go up to being like massive, massive buildings that are going to take forever to do anything with. So it's important that you start off small and slowly expand in this game. The game is very, very good at explaining how things work and showing you the ropes, as well as giving you quests through what I'm going to say is a storyline about expanding your base. You'll have a quest to adapt different buildings into shelters, and then you've got to make a warehouse, set up your first watchtower and things like that. But not only that, if you are stuck with anything, there's a lot of tooltips. If you hover over your materials at the top right, you can see everything that is there. And what happens is, once you are out, you're scavenging, you've got some workers and stuff set up at your base, you are going to have incoming transmissions occasionally that are going to let you know about potential survivors. There's also cars you can get your squads to drive, and also there are mutations of the zombies. You've got the dogs that I spoke about. There's also talks of children, and they're getting into the sewers and stuff, which is going to mean that even your underground bunker isn't safe at some point. And every now and then, the game is nice. You do get the occasional night off where there are no hordes roaming the streets. And then when the hordes are present, it's up to you to either attack them. You can lead them back to your base to try and hunker down in buildings and stuff and have extra protection. Or what you can do is get everyone back to base to have the best chance of survival. When it comes to your scavenging squads, you are in control of them. But when it comes to your workers, as soon as it hits nighttime, they will automatically go back to your base and they are safe. And at least at the start of the game, I highly recommend you avoid these hordes because they can be tough to take down. You can manage a couple here and there, but you're not going to take on the massive hordes that come after 10 days. Because the nights do get really, really tough. I had one night where I tried attacking the hordes and I got very, very quickly overrun. I lost about 16 people, and then eventually that playthrough, I lost my entire base. Everybody died. Even if you lose a couple of people, that survival element becomes even tougher. But this game's going to let you also set work areas so that your workers can go out and they can gather supplies, bricks, metal, wood, and then your scavengers are going to go through the buildings where you can find food, med supplies, guns. There's lots of different stuff. But not only that, if you don't have a lot of trees in your area, another thing you can do is you can actually set your workers to go and deconstruct buildings. That's going to make some room. For an example, if you're trying to set up a wall and there's a building in the way, get your workers to deconstruct it. It's going to make room so that you can put your walls where you want them. But at the same time, you're going to get resources when you deconstruct buildings. And yes, I mentioned walls. You can get gates. You've got watchtowers. You can build a full-on base to survive against this virus. And then you have the growth of your civilization. You can can adapt the buildings, as I said, into shelters. You can eventually get research labs and stuff. You can plant fields. And with these research labs, you can get things like an antenna, which is going to give you the ability to call all of your squads back at the same time instead of having to manage them individually. And I recommend not having too many squads active at the same time, because then you've got less work going on in your base, you've got more to manage, and it becomes a lot harder. I actually had the best time in this when I only had 2 active scavenging squads, but obviously it's entirely up to you. But not only that, with the research you can improve the production of buildings and food sources and stuff. However, your fields in this game are going to stop producing when the weather gets too bad, and sometimes the weather will be too bad to the point where the days are going to be less and less. They're going to be shorter and shorter, meaning your nighttime where the hordes come out are going to be even longer. And the game gets crazy tough from loads of different aspects. An example is having storms which let the infected actually roam around during the day. So it doesn't even matter how short your days become, because the infected are going to be there all the time. You're just going to have horde after horde after horde. Some of them will be free roaming, but a lot of them will come and attack your base. So what you have to do, you really have to manage everything and optimize all of the different areas of growth, because otherwise everything is going to fall apart. Every single resource in the game is important, just like every survivor. You will, at some stages, get free roaming survivors. You can go up to them, talk to them, you can add them to your base, and they can then be distributed amongst your scavengers and your workers. But then after all of that, it's entirely up to you how this goes. You can either expand and survive against the virus, or end up falling victim to it like I have. At least on one playthrough, because I did start another one, had a better time, but it's still challenging. So yeah, this game is incredibly addictive, but it's also really challenging at the same time. And while it is in early access, I did only encounter one single bug that basically didn't let my scavenging squad fully scavenge a building. It got to 100%, but it never finished. And other than that, the performance was as smooth as butter, really smooth. So based on everything that we've mentioned, I am going to give Infection Free Zone an 8.5 out of 10. It's an amazing game that I highly recommend you guys go out, grab and play. I just think if the challenge in the game was a little bit easier, it would have easily been a 9 out of 10. But even when I put the settings on the easiest, so I had the lowest amount of hordes, the highest amount of people and resources, I still got overrun rather quick. So the challenge is definitely there if you want it. It can be a little bit easier, but it's still always going to be challenging, but it is incredibly addictive. The game is £20 on Steam, it's got a 10% launch discount, and I feel the gameplay that's here, even in early access, on the launch of early access, the gameplay and stuff you get is definitely worth the asking price. With this game, you basically play as little or as much as you like, and I'm very excited to see what the future holds for this game. That's why I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10, and what we are going to do is leave that review there. Let me know your thoughts and your rating for this game in the comments. I will see you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.